I here last February, but I wasn't even finishing my diploma yet, and I got the great news that I was selected as one of a few artists who was going to show this video. So for me, it was a great honor that we do my work, especially as a just emerging artist. Then I would like also to say a big thank you to all my teachers at the Vancouver Island School of Art. And especially my school director and teacher, Wendy Welsh, for all your support. I really grew as an artist at Visa. I was doing art before, but at Visa, I really found the right teachers who pushed me, who helped me to actually, by respecting who I was, but understanding where I could really go and helping me to reach that. And for that, thank you very much. I would like also to say a big thank you to my friend Joshua Perrault. He's not here today, but I hope you will see this recording. Joshua is the person who helped me to do all the frames. He's a carpenter, he's an artist. He said he's not, but for me, he's an artist, and all these frames are done by him. And then a special big thank you to Jeroen here, who is the creator of this show. So thank you very much for that. So the idea of this series, Castle, I started to do this in 2020. I just went back in the memory of a castle where I worked in Belgium. It's the Gravensteen. It's a castle in Ghent. Ghent is about 40 minutes with the train from Brussels. So I was doing I was studying tourism at that moment in Belgium, and I had to do an internship for my studies. It was my last year, and I went to that castle and I asked them. I said, "Well, would you guys accept a student to work here? I have to do my internship." And they never had a student, so they were very excited about this idea, and they just said, "Yes, why not?" And I said, "Well, the only thing, I don't want to be working at the front door. I don't want to be selling tickets. I want to really learn from the castle, and I want to be in the castle." So they said, "Oh, don't worry, we will put you in the museum." So I had no idea what was this museum. And actually, when I went to the museum part, it was all the torture instruments, how to kill people, like the guillotine and all these funny instruments. So I had to learn all this to be able to explain to tourists who are coming in the museum and explain them how it works. So if any of you need a tutorial about those instruments, just ask me. So yeah, so when in 2020, for me, this experience was very, very strong. It stayed with me still today because I was in this old fortress, and I remember when in the evening I had to close the doors. I was going down the stairs, all these stairs made in stone, and I was going down, and I had a very weird feeling to be there. It was just like not the time. It was like you were out of the time, and especially during the summer where they were doing medieval art, and they had all these people coming dressed like in the medieval time and doing activities around the castle. So it was just another experience for me. And when I decided to do this series, I started to, as a warm-up exercise, to do some drawings first to really try to go back in my memories and not really being influenced by any images, but only by my memories. Then I compared to, once I did that, I compared to the real image of the castle that I didn't look for, that I didn't see for a few years. And I was not that far from reality, which was good. And I did my first painting after doing the series of drawings, which is the one right there. That was the first piece. Then I really, with this painting, I knew that I wanted to go in the blue tones. I found that the palette for this series has to be mainly blue, because to me, the blue is also not only a calming color for me, but also it has a connection with melancholy, which is a lot about who I am. I feel I'm a very melancholic person. and that represents very well my identity. And then I did this second painting behind you, Wendy. And I could start to see like some forms coming and were starting to be different. And especially when I did the third one, then I really, I actually noticed with all these arches that there was something more oriental in how I was drawing than the other ones. And that started to really be interesting for me. I was feeling like, oh, I can bring something from me to this castle, which is in Belgium, but my identity is complex because I'm Belgian and I'm Persian as well. So I started to search for that. And then I did more drawing exercises where I was really not trying to control anything, but really trying to just let myself be and express how I was feeling things, not trying to follow something really that has to look exactly like in reality. And then for the fourth pieces, I was interested to actually divide the castle into all these shapes that I was finding that I found interesting. So I made a kind of a broken castle which became one piece for me at the end. And then once those were done, this piece actually was done at the beginning of the pandemic. So I was actually finishing this when the pandemic started. And then I was kind of suddenly cut from, like everybody, from everything. I was by myself. I had almost no contact with anybody. And I started to do a different series that came from the castle, actually. It's a series about Persian doors. And I don't know if are they on the wall right now?
Yes.
I actually every day I live in Broadmead, so every day I was going for a long walk in my neighborhood, and there were nobody except deer and except all these big houses in the street. So I was just I was actually happy to see the deer because otherwise I had no contact with nobody. And so I started to kind of develop a kind of a relationship with those animals, and I feel very, very connected to them. I had the feeling that actually they were in search of something. They were like walking in places that might have been their places. They were like kind of lost and not lost, like suddenly no more people. And so they were going everywhere in the middle of the road, everywhere. Like they were not scared of at the end of anything. And I started to see them like more and more at my window even. Every day the same ones coming almost at the same time every day. And those animals actually, in a way, made me think about myself, about actually my search of identity, about the fact that I left my country of birth, which is Iran. I was only 4 and we moved to Belgium. And I grew up all these years, not really completely feeling I was Belgian, not completely feeling I was Persian, not really knowing who I was. And through art, actually it's almost 40 years later with art that I actually started to really pay attention to my identity and to search for it and to really try to understand who am I. And for me, the doors are really like, for me, the image of the doors, like I push them to go from the known to the unknown, to what I don't know and I want to understand. And that's why I'm actually working on those doors. And then more and more, I developed with the doors my own vocabulary. So I was, of course, looking at images of Persian doors, a lot of images of patterns, Persian patterns, but then I was not trying to copy them. I was just by looking at an image and then putting it away and mixing things and creating my own images. And so once I finished with, I didn't really finish this series, but I did so far 9 Persian doors. And then I started to do, I wanted for the show another piece, way bigger than the other ones. So I did this last piece over there, where on that one, I really, since the doors, with the doors for me, it was a way of exploring all the patterns and trying to find. So actually, that one became more ornamental because it was really all the studies that I did before with the Persian doors that I could really explore in that last painting. And then I found this object, this castle, one day when I was on the walk, and for me, it was a big sign that that castle was right there waiting for me. So I took it with me in the studio. I cleaned it, I painted all in black, and I just transformed it on my vision of what would be a Belgian Persian castle. So I don't know if any of you has question about this.
I don't have a question, Assal, but I just have a comment.
Mm-hmm.
I just love the way you've unpacked one subject so thoroughly. And especially, you know, when you talked about these pieces on the wall, just actually zooming right into each individual piece and then moving back out again and using the different media that you've used to really explore and experience this one topic for you. It's really interesting.
It was interesting to hear. I didn't realize that you actually worked in the castle.
Oh yeah.
Right? So it's like something you really know.
Oh yeah. I mean, for me, I mean, I had lots of experience in my life, but that one was so. It was really another world, and especially because, as I said, they did this every year during the summer. They do this medieval art and medieval festival.
Mm-hmm.
So the people really like once you're like everyday life and you pass the gate and suddenly you feel you're in a movie like Robin Hood with Kevin Costner is going to come suddenly, and it's just another world. It's just it was something.
And the other thing I'm intrigued about is that you did this painting after the door. So how did that feel when you were doing it? Did it feel like something new?
Yeah, completely.
Yeah.
Because it's for me once I did those ones first in 2020, then I moved to the doors. Mm-hmm. And for me, it was the castle who actually opened the door for me to the doors. Mm-hmm. And then I got the approval for the show here. And when we discussed, we agreed that big pieces would be nice to add to the show. So kind of I had to go back, you know, back in time, but I couldn't be back exactly. It was different. It was back, but completely different because for me, it's really. I go back, but I have the doors with me. I go back to the castle with the doors, you know.
So do you picture you could do another castle?
Oh, I can.
Okay, so it doesn't feel over for you, the castle.
No, but it's not over in me. Okay. The castle lives in me.
Yeah, that's
so yeah. It's. I don't think.
Well, sometimes people do a series and then move on, and then other artists will kind of revisit. I
actually found it was weird at the beginning to go back to it, to do something when for me it was first finished. Mm-hmm. I wasn't expecting to do more castles. And actually, with this, I feel like I'm even going to another direction. Like this one is like almost starting a new series of castles. And yeah, I could do. I could because now I'm coming with a solid, knowledge of the Persian pattern that I'm creating and things that I'm doing with the doors. So I will be always very thankful to the castle because with the castle, it helped me to not just be a painter, but actually realizing, trying to put more interest about my identity. Because it's, as I said, I needed 40 years to only start to pay attention to it, to realize that I was never feeling that I was one or the other, but actually I'm both. And
Well, it fits into my slightly controversial concept that artists just have one idea, but all their career, they manifest it in different ways. So castle door, it's all about the kind of combined identity and other things, but I just feel that it becomes a continuum that could go back and forth. So it's interesting. That's what I was asking what that means. And I won't talk anymore.
I know, it's interesting when you talk.
Assal, I find it really amazing. I remember seeing the doors in the class we shared, and now to see the castle and what you speak about identity. When you think about a castle, often they were fortresses. They were protecting the people in the castle, and so as a metaphor for you seeking a deeper knowledge of your identity and who you are, I think the castle is an amazing exploration of that, to use that metaphor. Yeah.
Well, this is a house, right? This is you're your own fortress, you're your own house, and everything you have inside, it's up to you if you want to push those doors and go and search them. You can just think, oh, I'm good, I'm just this person, and I'm fine with it. But for me, all my life I heard about, like my work, it's all about lots of detail. I pay lots of attention to detail, and all my life I heard that you shouldn't be so much, you pay too much attention to detail. And recently I was listening to an artist, she was, her name is Amanda Lear, she's very famous in France, and she was actually Salvador Dali muse. And she explained that for her, lots of details happen in her life. Now she paints, and she never really think about all these little details that were actually showing her that your path is to go and paint. And she said, only when I realized that how much those details were important, because they're building my identity. And that's what I feel the same. I feel like I don't want to not pay attention to the details, because actually all these little details are part of who you are. They build you, they make your identity. Those, just to tell you about the castle, I was born in Iran, next to a castle, right next to a castle. Like when I was going out of my house, just about a little bit further down the wall, there were some gates, and that was one of the castles of the Shah. I was born right after the revolution, so there were no more Shah there, there were, and for me, I left Iran when I was 4, but I think somewhere my family was probably talking about it, and the castle was there. There were cars coming often. We don't know who was in the car, but passing the gate. So those things were somewhere in me inscribed there. And it's only when I started to do this series that suddenly I asked my mom, I said, they were a castle, right? They were a castle. Like suddenly, these old memories were coming. And I'm like, why I always been attracted to monuments, to castles, to why I so much wanted to go and work in a castle. All this means something, if you want to pay attention to them.
Sally just said that as you were making them, the memory of this castle sort of emerged from your subconscious, I guess. I was thinking about that earlier. It must have been like a really emotional, or just it must have been an emotional process.
Oh, yeah.
Spending all this time thinking about Belgium and all of your identity and everything. I was just wondering if lots of memories came up that you didn't know you had.
Yeah, it is very, being far from, now it's more than 2 years that I didn't see my country, didn't see Belgium, didn't see my family. And when I work, I go to such a meditative place that actually I'm very I'm playing with my emotions all the time, because all this means it is very emotional. But as I said, I'm a very melancholic person. So every time it just reminds me of a time that doesn't exist anymore. And for that, it's very emotional. Because in the same time, it feels that it was just yesterday. And I'm 41, and it was this fun. When I worked in the castle, I was like 23 or 24, something like that. So it was a long time ago. And in the same time, it feels it was just yesterday. It's so fresh. Can you hear very well there?
I can hear Brian.
Anybody else want to say something or questions or?
What were these drawings done with?
With what?
Yeah.
Most of them are done with Chinese ink. There is a charcoal one, and there is another one is watercolor. So the one down in the middle is watercolor, and that one was charcoal. All the rest are Chinese ink.
Assal, did you say your process was that you drew from memory first
Mm-hmm.
and then you
Yeah. I actually did because I didn't want to be influenced by anything. And then I went on internet and typed Gravensteen and then printed. And I was like, oh, it wasn't that hard.
It really was like it felt like yesterday.
Yeah, and then, you know what? I want to show you because I have it here.
Oh, interesting.
So yeah, so
The framing and paper of these makes them kind of look like historic artifacts.
Yeah.
Like something you would find in a museum.
Yeah.
How long have you worked at the castle, did you say?
how long? It was just a few months. I was doing maybe 3-4 months doing my internship. Yeah.
Amazing how a fairly short experience can have like a
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
monumental impact.
But it is short now because you just sit 3-4 months. But once you are there, it seemed for me like way longer than that.
Yeah.
Especially because it was so different. So, and I was the youngest person working there. They were all quite older than me. There were one man who was maybe in his mid-30s, but all the rest were way older. And they were so happy to have a young girl there. So they were so lovely, and I could do whatever I wanted. I had all the keys, I could go everywhere. I loved everything, so that was nice.
I really like the way that you're flattening perspective, and yet you suggest it all the time. Just looking closely, it's I don't know how you would describe that, but it's visually really effective.
It's very geometral, like a flat space of like pre-Renaissance. This is like medieval, the way medieval paintings would be. Would you agree?
How long did this one take you?
Few months, like during the summer. Was it 2 months maybe? 2 months.
The details are amazing.
But I was doing this while I was also working on my doors because I don't do only one. I just work on different ones. So I had actually one door in the studio, this, and another door at home. So I was on 3 different paintings. So I don't really calculate, how much time. But
Assal, do you remember the day I suggested to work on more
oh yeah,
than
it's
one
because of
painting?
you.
And like, no.
Yeah, I remember that.
can't
When I-
do it. Now you're just like,
Oh yeah, now I cannot do just one because it's weird. But yeah, when the
you were
first
so
time,
shocked.
yeah, when she said to me, "Why are you working just on one piece? You should." I'm like, "But how can you work on 2 pieces at the same time?" She said, "Oh, some artists work on 3 or 4." I'm like, "Oh my god!" It seems very scary for me because I was like, "No, I need to finish this." And actually, thank you so much because it's when you can, let it for a while, go
Yeah.
to something else that you can better come back to.
Yeah, it gives you freedom.
Yeah, it's the same than in a relationship, when you see too much someone all the time, just need to, you know.
Well, that was a great talk.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Just before we close,
Mhm.
thank you, Assal. Fabulous hearing about your work. I just wanted to also just add in a thank you to Bill Bartlett, who is Assal's sponsor from Xchanges. Bill's one of our oldest, I shouldn't say oldest, longest running studio artists here at Xchanges, and also to Cindy Wright, who's not here. She's out at sea, but she's our gallery coordinator, and Jessica Dearman, also from our gallery coordinator team, for helping to put together all of this exhibition. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Yeah,
Thank you.
and if I can just add another word, it's just I want to, my mom is not there today, but I know she will see the recording at some point.
Yes,
Yes.
we are recording.
And I hope she will be proud of this.
She will be very proud.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to share your images on here so it gets recorded on the Zoom.
I have lots of training.
I think I can respond to people too, you know.
So.
Took a hold of the.
Have a line item with people wanting to come in, so we're gonna have.
Thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much.
Yeah. I'll leave with lots of commitment to more people, but
Okay.
this is amazing.
Thank you guys. Take care.
Yeah, that was a great talk. Yeah, really well done. I'll see you later. Thank you so much. Oh, yeah, this is great. Thank you. But for the.
No, we actually
So what else I'm doing?
That's a long thing.
Fine, like, well, I'm just continuing studies. I finish my diploma. I'm only like 10 classes.
Yeah.
And then I'm working at my studio. So, yeah.
You can tell it's like a stage.
And downtown. Yeah.
Rampart is broken off.
How are you?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah. Good.
Hi.